Thank you, Mike. That's okay. So, unfortunately, we don't all have blank checkbooks, or we'd be able to do with a lot of things that I'm going to talk about today. Let's get going here. Everyone here certainly knows about a lot of the drivers and change in sports, and we often get sucked into our day-to-day work and the next event coming, so we don't get a chance to figure that out. So I just wanted to let you know, first of all, who IABM is. Ken gave you a brief overview, but this presentation is put together in conjunction with our research team that sends out surveys, a lot of them to people here through stats. And we also endorse industry collaborative nonprofit groups to help promote various different types of technology as well. And I'm sure you're aware of these, and I hope you support them as well. Now, certainly one of the cool things most of you get involved in is the specialty broadcasting trends, often tailored just for sports. And you know, I recall many times discussing these new technologies used in sporting events with regular broadcasters. And of course, they claim, oh, no, that's just good for sports. You know, we'll never use it in our environment at all. Yet a few years later, they're jumping on the bandwagon saying they'd wish they'd paid attention earlier. So, you know, what you guys do is all really cool, and it is important to look at and keep track of the crown jewel you have, because certainly with all the glooming predictions that follow any ratings decline, live sports does remain the jewel in the broadcaster's crown. And you know, it's not been subjected to this transition of on-demand viewing that a lot of other ones have had. And of course, sports also has the opportunity to build other venues and other types of revenues outside that typically broadcasters can't do. So there's no surprise that you know, we talk about blank checkbooks and things like that, but broadcasters are willing to pay premium for sports rights. And it's a pretty good testimonial as to what's been going on over the last few years with this. The inflation of sports rights, along with the increasing demand for coverage, is exerting pressure on broadcasters, sports broadcasters specifically, to streamline operations. Pressure on the budgets is further challenged by the rising expectations of the fans. Consumers, particularly the younger ones, now expect to be entertained in new ways, and in order to do that, you want them to pay for sports, not just watch the highlights on YouTube. Broadcasters are taking care of this by augmenting sports experiences and engaging with new fans. But what are some of these trends? And I'm going to cover some of the trends here, but mainly some of the trends that's going on in Europe that maybe you're not aware of as well. So first, let's look at, again, with sports rights. Although the value of the English Premier League plateaued at the start of 2018, Sky is still paying over £1 billion a year for these rights. And certainly ESPN and Turner agreed on a deal for the NBA rights in 2016 that saw these increasing by 180%, $2.6 billion a year over a 9-year period. Not to mention the international appeal of sports, which is rising at a fast pace. This, along with the increasing demand for content, contributing to the increase on pressure on these budgets. So with regards to expectations, fans not only expect high quality, but also new features such as augmented reality and sophisticated data virtualizations to be entertained. And so some of these things are the most important technology trends we're seeing. And we saw some of these today in some of the earlier presentations. Now, of course, when we talk about streamlining, one of this is remote production. And the benefits of remote production are certainly clear. Cost savings between 20 to 40% through centralization, increasing the utilization of resources, meaning equipment and people, and reducing travel time and transport expenses. This enabled broadcasters to cover more events at the same for lower cost. For example, NBC used remote production in the 2018 Winter Games, giving over 2,400 hours of content, which again, total content was more than the previous last two Winter Olympic Games. So why not have all broadcasters move to remote production? Well, as we saw in some of the panels, it's not quite all there yet. It's been slower than expected. And people are also, though, frankly, just reluctant to upset their current workflows where they're making money and don't want to upset things. But there's no question these workflows will become clearer. Last month, BT Sport pushed the limits by having remote production done with EE Telecom's 5G network. Who would have imagined having a mobile network phone connection into a 10 gigabit per second backhaul link? I mean, this is really cool. But I think over here, one of the big challenges that we will see is not so much the 5G rollout, but more about the backbone and the frequencies being available to handle the backbone to all the picocells. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. IBM helps its members and media suppliers in the industry keep on top of what end users are looking for. And this chart shows the top technology providers. Remote production is in third place after multi-platform delivery and the transition to IP. And I thought what Jaap said in his presentation earlier from a Perry is it's not only about just going to IP, it's also how IP gets you into virtualization. Very, very important. Multi-platform delivery has been on this chart for some years now, but I think mainly because the definition of multi-platform delivery has been changing. It's constantly varying. It used to be considered a simple replication of a net distribution feed, but that's not the way it's happening anymore. And it'll be also interesting to see the next panel that Ken has up here on the remote design of on the design of remote trucks, how that'll change with virtualization and remote production. After remote production is automating workflows. Again, further to streamline operations. This is a hot topic at the moment, and with regards to this, AI and machine learning are at the top of the list. Automation, another way for streamlining operations, particularly at less important events in the broadcaster's portfolio. With regards to this, solutions that automate camera operations and metadata tagging are very, very attractive. For example, in 2016, Disney announced it was working on improving automated camera operators to cover more basketball and soccer games. Several solutions to automate camera operations have been showcased at various trade shows in 2018, such as MRMC's and Mobile Viewpoint. AI has also been used by IBM to produce highlights at the 2017 Tennis US Open. Although these are early deployments, their potential to rationalize sports production is great. With regards to metadata tagging, broadcasters are interested in this not only to monetize their archives, but also to keep viewers interested. As we saw again earlier today, Brian from Ross showed some pretty cool stuff that was going on with graphics. And he mentioned, they need to have things at their fingertips in various games as things change. So the real thing is, will AI start to do some of this for us? As mentioned earlier, sports is not just about quantity, streamlining operations, it's also about quality, augmenting the consumer experience. Our research often highlighted how sports has the silver lining of immersive formats such as VR, UHD, HDR. Some of these are struggling with regards to other genres, yet sports shows off how this can be done. These formats have been benefiting the recent 2018 FIFA World Cup games and for the last 2.5 years that have been done in UHD. And certainly VR has waned, I can see, and sort of disappeared a bit for a while in 2017, 2018. Some of this is slow consumer adoption. And the The companies that have a big stake in this game, like Facebook, are significantly lowering prices because the complexities and cost of VR production in the post side as well as live production really makes this difficult. Moreover, the lack of uncertainty of business models is also difficult. I thought Ken's video from Interby was really, really neat using VR on the production side, although I don't know if I could handle, again, wearing a headset for that many hours to do anything on the production side. But certainly the gamers can handle this. Another trend worth highlighting is the rise of AR in data production, in sports production with data. With regards to AR, broadcasters have started using open source tool again from the gaming industry, such as Unreal Engine, to power new effects graphics. A recent example of this is the virtual studio delivered by NEP Netherlands to Eurosport. Another example is the Hazard hologram delivered by a Belgian broadcaster, RTBF, at the 2018 World Cup coverage. The importance of game stats isn't new. However, more data is very, very important. A recent example of this is Stats, a startup gathering data from sporting events around the world. At the start of 2018, the company had 650 customers that had just signed 5 deals worth over $70 million in just 4 months. Broadcasters are investing heavily into data to augment the consumer experience and retain viewers, because it's no question that viewers' attention span is becoming less and less. Need to keep them occupied with and engage them. Now, with regards to eSports, this is obviously a fast-growing market regarding and showing a lot of attention at the moment. The Union of European Football Association has recently launched E-Championship League tournament in partnership with EA Sports, for example. EA Sports has also partnered with the Premier League to launch the E-Premier League last October. eSports could provide a big but online audience and growth for broadcasters. Aside from the complexities of delivering live video to massive audiences, producing esports has another set of challenges in its own. People, of course, want to be more interactive because, of course, you have gamers watching. You need to have different feeds, not only of what's going on in the arena, but also what's going on with regards to the players and how they're playing. So the other thing is the viewers of esports are technically savvy, and of course they want to switch around the feeds themselves. So they are a lot more demanding, and this makes production even more challenging. It's worth noting that AR is not just limited to production, as some broadcasters have experimented with AR apps. As you can see, the NBA one's really cool, where you can kind of step through a virtual door of immersive experience. Also, BT Sport has been experimenting using 360 coverage in the Champions League. Finally, I wanted to mention, of course, the increasing M&A of activity on OTT tech side, where both media companies and service providers are acquiring OTT tech companies to improve personalized experience. Linear's still king, but with regards to sports delivering online content, no question you need a closer relationship with the viewers and a long-term focus. I've been really surprised in speaking with a lot of the broadcasters that they haven't kept enough track of end-user viewer stats to know where this is heading. So again, everybody talks about it, but you need to engage with the end viewer. And as we can see, the technology is changing, how business adapts, and the rising budgets are squeezing. Sports broadcasters are having to figure out how to streamline operations more and more, and how to keep these things, yet maintaining a high technical standard. I've seen so many other people trying to streamline operations, yet they're hurting their own operations. Where in sports, not only are they streamlining it, they're trying to do more and more, which is good. No question that augmenting the consumer experience is interesting, and how to engage the old fans, but also get the new fans going. and keep analyzing. Everyone has to analyze and experiment of how to do some of these new techniques. Sure, some of them are fads, but they relate to what I call sticky fads. Which ones will stay around, which ones don't. So you need to understand how to balance these trends and keep an eye on that. So with that, Ken, I wonder if there's any questions. No? Well, you don't have a mic. We left you mic-less there.
Sorry. It's okay. I have one now. So what's your sense on so the VR thing, because you had it in a slide. So do you think VR's got issues, or do you think VR can recover?
Well, I think VR does definitely have issues. Part of the problem, obviously, is the headset technology. That's the main stumbling block, but also the production. Certainly, I watched a fair bit of VR from some of the Olympic Games, and when you put the headset on, you parachute into the stadium, but you don't know where you are.
Right.
And you're looking around, oh, the gymnastic is there, the high jumps over there, and that's really confusing, and people want to be told what to watch. And that's the biggest challenge in VR.
Right. And then from a manufacturers, because IABM represents the manufacturers, so what's your sense on their understanding where the industry is headed? Or are they as confused as everybody else is?
Well, I wouldn't say the manufacturers are definitely confused. They're to the point of, I'll produce any product that you can sell. Right. But the big issue is the business plan. And we went through this in 3D with the business plan. A lot of people spun on product and whatever. VR clearly has a business plan outside of broadcast. So that's where money's being made.
Right. Excellent. Great. Well, thanks, Stan, for your time.